Hello out there. Welcome to the Heavy Montes Morning Show. America. Heavy Monte want to talk a little bit about the Supreme Court at first today. Now, the Supreme Court, what they did is they said, that you can't use race, in universities. You can't use race at all. They said, it's discriminatory. But they said that you can use race to pick up Hispanics. You see, America, this is what Heavy Monte is talking about. You have a criminal president, a convict, they say. I told you he's backed up by the Republican Party. You see what I'm trying to say? And that Supreme Court is an arm of the Republican Party. Corrupt America. Now, you have to understand where you're at. As an old man, I've always, knew where I was at times in history. History like Jim Crow. You can mess around as a black man and walk out the street after 6 and they hang you right in America. So you had to always know where you're at. So America, every month is talking to everybody out there today, on this Saturday. You better know where the hell you at in history. Now I'm gonna tell you a story because old men, we live a long time, and we can tell you stories about the past. I told you I was stationed in Italy, and I spoke the language. I learned it. I went to school to learn in a city called Viareggio, I understand. Hope I pronounced it properly. And when you got to that school, you spoke, Italian, right? Everything. You need want food, you better learn how to pronounce that stuff, because you ain't gonna eat, you're gonna starve. So you learn real quick. I think it was like 2 weeks. So it's a basic little course. And I had an Italian girlfriend, you know, and I had you know, a, a house, off base, in a little small town called Tirrenia, a beach town. You understand? Because the base that I was on, you know, they allowed you to live off base, stuff like that. You know, I was an NCO, so I was a non-commissioned officer, so I was able to live off base. So I lived off base, you know, and I had a friend, an old friend. He worked with me. He was a government contractor. His name was Ramo Ferroni. I mean, best friend. I went with him everywhere. I played DJ music. And, Julio Iglesias. That's all you had to play. That's all they like. Put that on and let it run. But America, Ramo would always say to me, I said, Ramo, I said, why is Italy in the condition it is right now? The money system is bad and everything. He says, the fascists. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what the fascists meant. Okay? Now, I'm an educated man, pretty smart, but at the time, I didn't know. As a young kid, I didn't know what it meant. You know? My grandmother used to always say, to us, well, you better, have a good day. I remember Hitler's time. I didn't know what the hell that was. You see what I'm trying to say? The American people are very uneducated, especially the Trump voter. They are dumbed down. So I asked Remo what a fascist was. You see what I'm saying? A fascist is Antifa right now. You see what I'm saying? They say that everybody in America just about, I understand, hate fascists. Okay? So if you hate fascists, okay, and he said Antifa. Antifa does not exist. It is an ideology that says, and an old Italian person told me this, man, one of my best friends who I hung out with every day that I worked with, okay, told me the suffering of the Italian people and the death of millions of people by the fascists, Mussolini, and today in Italy, a fascist rule. You understand? You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So, America, let me explain something to everybody out there. Okay? The Republican Party is a party of white men. And I'm going to use one of the white men that you Republicans say that's the best, Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk said to women that you must obey your husband and be submissive. This is the same ideology and the same thing they did on the black slaves. You see what I'm trying to tell you? Women that voted for Donald Trump, say you're a cook. You see what I'm saying? And you're working on a plantation and you're a slave and you're a property. And everybody in that town know you're a property of Mr. Doug, whatever his name is. You see? And you're a cook. And somebody give you some poison mushrooms and you can poison the whole entire family and kill all them bastards back then. Huh? You couldn't do it because you killed yourself. Because as soon as they find out that those people were killed, they would kill every black person on that damn plantation. And where the hell are you gonna go? You had no transportation, you're trapped. That's what they're doing to you, white women. You see what I'm trying to tell you? Say they're using abortions to say, okay, we can control them in these red states. Because these red states, they are nothing but satanic cult. I always get on the case of that governor in South Carolina because I'm from South Carolina. I say he's the reincarnation of Robert E. Lee. So this is what I'm trying to tell you, America. Okay, the Supreme Court, have you just proved they're racist. Okay, you can't trust them. They need to be impeached. Okay, they're working for Donald Trump. You understand? Now the Republican Party got themselves. I'm talking about the elected officials in a very bad space. Okay, they are criminals, they are crooks, and they're thieves. And the Republican Party has always had enough people to protect themselves and to keep secrets from the American people, even when the Democratic Party was in power. You see what I'm saying? But now the storm comes for them. I want to say something to you, America. They're not going to take over our country. Because Donald Trump united the country first with the Charlie Kirk lie. Up on my YouTube channel, I have Charlie Kirk in his own words, a playlist called the Seneca Project. That playlist, Seneca Project. Okay, that's for women. They're cool. Liberals, to a certain extent. They just love everybody, So Seneca Project, I don't want to say they're liberals, I don't want to say they're fair. Okay? So listen to that. In the middle. We'll say in the middle. But anyway, America, I want to say something to you about this right here, in my opinion. I want to say to you that we've been taken for a wild ride by a criminal party. And it's time for all of us to unite. Okay? And I told you how to do it. You must register as a Democrat. Now, I see on the web and I see commercials. They're coming out with now both parties are the same. You know what I'm saying? They're coming with that shit, right? They're going to lose. And I tell you what, you're going to be horrified when you find out, what the Republican Party is doing. And that's what I try to tell you. Be happy. You know what I'm saying? Be happy. Get your food. Make sure you have food. Make sure you have a little bit of money. You know what I'm trying to say? And take care of yourself. And now you're in a country right now that your lights might go off at any damn time. You know? And see, and how they do this thing is they run the prices up. They make money, the rich. But when people buying up all this shit. You see what I'm trying to tell you? And they put you in a position where you ain't got no choice. It's like as hell, America. You got to get rid of these Republicans. You can't even trust them. They play you for a sucker if you voted for them. But we Democrats, we hip to this stuff. We try to tell you, you know, when you allow your government to take away the rights of the least, that's a practice test for them to come and get you. It's that simple, huh? An old man, I tell you that. You know, when I was a child, coming up with a kid, the older men watched out for the children. You see what I'm saying? We had a friend, his name was Kaiser Gale. And Kaiser Gale, was an inspiration to me, a role model, a role model. And Kaiser Gale came to me one day and he told me he was the first person on the block that had an afro. We thought that was funny. And Kaiser said to me, he said, there are different types of ologies. When I was a kid, 7 years old, maybe 9, 10. I said, what's that, Kaiser? He said, they got a thing called biology, and they explained it to me, and psychology, and they explained it to me. And he said, it's white manology. I said, what the hell is that? He said, wherever they go, you go. You understand? Just because you're black, you do what they do. That's where the money is. He said, I was the first man to enter the Navy. He might have been like black man. And that's what I did. When I was hurting and didn't have any money, I'll tell you a story. When I got out of the military, I had nothing. Okay? At the time, my 18-year sister had died, and I was really depressed. I couldn't go any further. I lost my grandfather. And I am in a tight-knit family. We love one another. Okay? So I was kind of depressed. My sister died. I didn't get to see her. I didn't go to see her before she died. I was overseas, so I was, walking with that guilt. And I got out, and I had $7 in my pocket. But I know one thing, sales. You see what I'm saying? So at the time, telephone companies, they broke up AT&T or whatever they did. They broke the telephone companies up, and they were resellers. And I got a job, as a reseller. And I was, my pitch to all the people was, hey, look, I'm a local, I'm broke as hell soldier. You buy the shit from me, And they did it. I'm talking truck stops everywhere. And there was a company called American Research. And all they did was surveys. You're talking like a $10,000 a month check to have it. A week, excuse me, to have it. So I go down, and the bonuses, they give you bonuses, man. Whoever, that day, the morning the boss would call you in, and the boss would say, I'm giving $1,000, to you know, to the guy of the day. Every day, boss didn't care. He was selling shit left and right. So I signed up at American Research, making all this money, and their server crashed because the guy who owned the damn company, what the hell he was doing, in my opinion. So I lost that contract, and I got mad. Get the hell out of there. So I have a cousin. I live in Alaska. Never been separated from him. Like brothers. I want to die before him. I don't think I'll be able to take it. Okay? We're that damn close. You know what I'm saying? And I was, my cousin came, and he's a real strict guy. He don't drink, none of that stuff. He's cool. And I love you too. And he came to Cam and he said, okay, let's go. I walked around the corner with him to this little bar, real ghetto. Walk to the bar, give me a beer, man. He goes, I don't drink. I drank it down real quick, talking trash. He looked me right in the face. And he said, I'm going to tell you something. He said, you when the hell, you should stay down here. There's nothing for you here. He said, you come to Alaska. And you know what? I went to Alaska with $7 in my pocket. Got a job for the federal government making $350 every 2 weeks. You understand? I poked myself up by my bootstrap because my family loved me and they took care of me. You understand? And that's what your government should do. You understand? My aunt gave me the money for the ticket to fly to Alaska so I can get a $350 job. Say that every 2 weeks. But I had a job. You understand? I was able to feed myself. So America, isn't it upsetting when you can't feed your children? And your government is responsible for it? Because your government is saying, that you're poor and you're desolate and you're having problems, and your government is not there to hold you up and lift you up and at least give you food? America? And the Republican Party is refusing food to the American people. The Republican Party is out there separating us by race, picking up our Hispanic people. The Republican Party is out there, disrespecting our women, disrespecting our children, and protecting a pedophile, they say. So, America, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to, even you people on the left and on the right, is going to just call uncle and give up the rights of your children to a corrupt Republican Party? I don't think so. Huh? Now we know. We know who and we know what they are. Now, I'm going to say this to you, America. The latest scare tactic that Donald Trump used when he arrested James Comey is stupid. He's going to have to, he can put a bunch of people in jail. If you're following that, you're a fool. You know what I'm saying? So he's doing that to scare me and you. And to say, if I can do it to him, I can do it to you. You know what I'm saying? James Comey will sue his ass. You know what I'm saying? Get some of that $10 billion out of that. Because they really believe that they're going to keep this country forever. In 2020, 28, you understand? Trump will still be president. That's why he putting all that gold shit around there. And he said he's making the house the way he wanted because he's going to live forever because he is God. You understand? Now we're going to go into the satanic cult on the Saturday show. Okay. I told you a story yesterday about Jim Jones, right? The cult leader. Well, Jim Jones, okay, he was having problems. Nobody was believing that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So Father Divine is a black minister at the time. And Father declared to his parishioners and the people who, who followed him, that he was basically God. Huh? He was God. And people believed it. Shit, he had a Rolls Royce and cars. Shit, man, he had everything. They were giving him money and shit. He was running a good game, just like some of these preachers right now. So Jim Jones said, I'm going to go down there and find out how Father Divine is doing this stuff. So Father Divine, Jim Jones went and saw him. Okay, and all this shit is documented. And he said, Father Divine, how you do this shit? He said, tell him you're God. Okay? He said, they'll believe it. He'll keep telling them. And he did. And they believed it. And they all died. And that's what Trump did. I am God. Okay? God sent me here. And they can believe it. Because God sent Jesus. You see what I'm saying? And they said, well, Jesus, he ain't cool no more. But if we can't follow that, if we follow Jesus, then we'll have to, love the immigrant. So we can't do that. You know what I'm trying to say? So they invented Trump. That's their Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Personal, the song says. A personal Jesus. Donald Trump. He's going to lead them to the promised land and make America great again. You understand? All right? And if he can't do that, we all die. We all die. You see the Supreme Court talking shit about this guy told you the Second Amendment. You see what I'm saying? America? Huh? They're getting ready to take over our country. Huh? You can't control 300 and some million people when they are one. And that's why you got to let them know. You got to let them know by registering as a Democrat and get their Republican rolls down to zero. So, America. So you can say, how the hell you can run our country when you don't exist? You see what I'm saying? When none of us are registered. And that's a protest thing. You know what I'm saying? That's a protest thing. And Heavy Money's telling you to do it. You understand? Register as a Democrat. You understand? Sometimes I mix them up. Register as a Democrat. Do not register as a Republican. Okay? Get the rolls down to zero. You see, you don't even want nobody to know. That's the way you make amends for putting us in this shit. You see what I'm saying? By changing up and doing the right thing. But like I say, I want you to be happy. Because look, he's trying everything. This is the Achilles heels of America. Take it from the old man. The House and the Senate, okay, they're gambling. And they're saying, Donald Trump win this thing, we'll be in power forever, we'll secure our salary and all that stuff. And he'll probably give him a raise. Because Donald Trump will pay you, using our tax money. He'll pay you. Using our tax money, I'm talking about the congressmen and senators and shit, right? Republicans, right? But when they start feeling that they're losing, okay, and they're losing, okay, they're thinking that, well, he can do it by force. He got an army, ICE. You know what I'm saying? And he's putting that army together, and he's coming. take over all this land in America. You see what I'm trying to tell you? You know. So, it's kind of funny and it's kind of ironic that the the man and the party that told you that the Democrats were going to do this stuff is doing it. So you know what the playbook is. An authoritarian playbook is to always tell you the other guy is going to do something to you, but at the same time they do that to you. See, that's what they do. But getting back to my buddy Raymond Peroni, Raymond told me and explained to me what a fascist is. I remember what he said it was. At the time, I didn't understand it because I was a kid. Okay, and that's what you got right now in America. You have a few men that said we want to control the nation. All right, a few men. Okay, and they make up terms like white people. Like which I say don't exist. You know and they make up terms and names for every little group. Hispanic, Jews, all this, and they attack them, one at a time. Blacks sometimes, women sometimes, what I'm saying? The Jewish community sometimes, the Native American community sometimes, the Hispanic community sometimes, Christians, non-Christians, and they stir the pot. And they keep the shit going. You see what I'm trying to tell you? And the other side, the Democratic Party, is too late. It's too late when we find out because we don't think that people, human beings, would hate our country and hate us this much that they would do this. You see, we didn't think that. But you got to know what you're doing in America. Know what you're fighting. You're fighting Satan. You're fighting evil. There's nothing good about what Donald Trump is doing because Donald Trump has not said the words that every great president has said. Huh? We are one people. We're working for everybody. But instead, he said he hates me, hate Hispanics. And the Supreme Court backed him up. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, it's all right to racially profile these people. And it's all right for us to profile the Republican Party and designate them as domestic terrorists and the enemy of the state, the enemy of democracy, the enemy of God, the enemy of your children. Huh? Monsters. But they say, we can't say that when they have been on. If you go back in history and read some of the things in the memes about Michelle Obama had us dressed up like a monkey. Had Obama looking like all kind of memes, all kind of stuff. We're not even close to filthy as those people. All we want is justice. Justice for our children. Justice for the country. Huh? Justice for the dead. Huh? You know who died from COVID? Because of the incompetence of a criminal government. You see? You know? And now our corporate press shakes with fear. Huh? The Republican Party shakes with fear. Fear will end it for you. Because if you're afraid, you're afraid all the time. Like I was afraid when I got out of the military. Huh? You see what I'm saying? But the people, my family, pulled me out of the darkness and brought me to the light. And I sit here today because of them. Huh? And our country will survive because of all of us. America. We are one people. You do not allow anyone to separate you because you have a choice to marry a white woman, a black woman, and do whatever you want. Huh? You can be straight, transgender, and anything you want to be in the greatest country in the world. Huh? If we take and say we're going to make America great again, we will make America great for all and give everyone an opportunity for success. That's all people want. Not all of us want to be billionaires. We just want to survive. This is Heavy Monte for the Heavy Monte podcast and the Heavy Monte Comedy Show. We stand at 477 subscribers, and we hope that you will subscribe. Huh? We want to push this to 1 million subscribers and grow the Heavy Monte platform because I am the product. Huh? I speak America for you if you let me. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and have a great weekend.